many people talk about the Heart of Wales line, but there is another line with a heart in it, and that's the Heart of Wessex line, which runs from Bristol all the way down to Weymouth on the coast. So I thought I'll have a go at that heart, but currently Bristol is in a state of, should we say, undress. They're rebuilding the station there, so I thought I would start my trip here at Bath Spa. And Bath Spa station, of course, is quite a classic in its own right. Although it's just got two platforms, one going each way, it's on a lovely curve and elevated, and of course everything's made of wonderful Bath stone. So I thought I'll come here, give you a little walk around Bath Spa station, see some of the architectural interesting things, and then jump on the train and see how it goes. Although there's only two platforms now, the car park area has evidence that there was possibly more back in the day. We are currently on the south side of the line, which means we can see the back entrance to the station here. And here at the station we are pressed up against the Avon, so let's cross the Halfpenny Bridge to the Widcombe side of the river. And here, just to the east of the station, is the start point of the Kennet-on-Avon Canal, which is a lovely place to sit and ponder the days of slower, quieter forms of transport. But it's the railway that now tends to dominate the river, as the lines must cross it going both east and west. To the east it crosses over St James's Bridge, and to the west over Skew Bridge. As you've seen, the railway is in an elevated position above the river, which means, of course, oh, and there goes a train. Which means, of course, to access the station from either end, it has to go over a viaduct. And so, first interesting thing is I'm just coming to this Bristol end of the station, and we'll see that the Great Western decided to, shall we say, make something of it. And here is Brunel's 17-arch St James Viaduct, which was somewhat playfully described as a castellated Gothic fantasy. But I think we can see just what they meant. And when you step back, the effect is of a large folly built by some mad lordship on his land, rather than a piece of railway engineering. The new bus station sits below the railway lines, and the redevelopment here has helped to create Brunel Square. The main station itself has a mock Tudor look and a very limited porte-cochere. And facing it stands the Royal Hotel, perfectly placed for the burgeoning trade that the railway will have brought. Inside there's more Bath stone, but actually for such an important station, I feel the Great Western could have made things a bit larger. The current concourse does feel cramped. I've got a bit of time, so let's take a closer look at Platform 1, the westbound platform. The steel, wood and glass canopy seems perfect for the station, but actually they're a new addition from 1897, when the original all-over roof was removed. As they are listed, the platforms were widened in 2017 so that future electrification works would not impact the canopies themselves. So let's go to Platform 2 up these still wooden staircases. There's a London train due in before my Weymouth train, and as you'd expect, it's a bi-mode Class 802. It does seem a shame that the initial Great Western electrification wasn't extended to this area. Right, there's no point waiting up here, as my train will only have 3 coaches, and it's another Class 166 Turbo, or GWRbo, as I've heard them called. So let's go in and turn left for the declassified first class. Ah, this is a result. Okay, whilst I settle myself in, let's have a quick look at the route for today. As I said earlier, the official Heart of Wessex line starts at Bristol Temple Meads, although our little 166 has actually originated at Gloucester today. We'll leave Bath on the London line, but we'll quickly swing around south to follow the River Avon to our first stop at Bradford-on-Avon. There, we'll part company with the Avon and proceed on through Trowbridge to meet up with the Great Western Main Line at Westbury. Then it's a run down the main line with a short deviation through Frome, and then on to Bruton before we spur off at Castle Carey for Yeovil. And after Yeovil, we'll pass under the London and South Western's main line to Exeter, passing through a little set of request stops as Somerset becomes Dorset. And then there's 3 more stops at Maiden Newton, Dorchester and Upwey, and that will lead us into our final arrival into the seaside town of Weymouth. The journey today is 101 kilometres or 63 miles, and our little GWRbo will take just over 2 hours to complete the journey. Now, considering we will hit 90 miles an hour along the Great Western Main Line, an overall average speed of just 30 miles an hour is, well, a little disappointing. Anyway, this isn't a journey about speed. We're looking for a rather pleasant run through some Wessex counties of England on a glorious June day. At Bathampton Junction, the line for London carries on to the left, but we join the Wessex Main Line and we're soon tracking the River Avon. The Wessex Line was the brainchild of the Wiltshire, Somerset and Weymouth Railway in 1845. However, financing issues meant they sold up very early and were subsumed into the Great Western Railway in 1850. Various sections were opened when completed, with the whole line being operational by 1857. The Avon Valley is very beautiful as we cross and recross the river, but eventually we arrive at Bradford-on-Avon, which looks very much like a smaller version of Bath Spa Station. Although the 166s are 30 years old, this compartment is comfortable enough. Some of the old first-class seats have switches for overhead lights, and some just now have gaps. But it doesn't matter as there aren't any overhead lights anyway. And under the table are 3-pin and USB power supplies too. And at Bradford Junction we will leave the Avon behind and come into Trowbridge. The bridge inferred by the name Trowbridge will be crossing the River Biss rather than the Avon. The chalk downs south of Trowbridge make it a useful place for making white horses. And here we have the Westbury White Horse. Records show that there's been a white horse on this site since at least the 1770s. Westbury Station is the point where our line crosses the London to Taunton Main Line. It is also a major collection point for limestone trains running to and from the 2 large quarries in the area. The line for Salisbury heads south-east, but we are now staying on the main line heading south-west to Castle Carey. It's very nice to enjoy the smooth running of the main line, and the Class 166 is certainly much better on these smoother tracks. But progress is halted as we need to cross the up line in order to branch off to Frome Station. And after waiting a couple of minutes for the line to clear, we run through Clink Road Junction and on into the now single-tracked Frome Station. I wish I had more time to poke about this Grade 2 listed station, which Wikipedia says has one of the oldest through train sheds still operational in Britain. I'm also not quite sure what that brake van is doing there. At Blatchbridge Junction we rejoin the main line. Maybe now the 166 can get up to its top speed. And yes, it can! The countryside is fair flying past now, although of course we do have to slow down for Bruton. This southwesterly line has pushed us on into Somerset, and I'm very much enjoying the countryside. It's so lovely today in the sunshine. As this is a 3-car train, we can fit into the shorter platform 3 at Castle Carey. That means we're ready to peel off left back onto the Heart of Wessex line. Beyond Castle Carey is more lovely countryside. including, I think, a brief view of Cadbury Castle, reputed to be the site of the Court of Camelot, where the knights apparently invented chocolate. Meanwhile, back in the real world, we come into Yeovil Pen Mill, one of Yeovil's 2 stations.
The Great Western Railway service to...
Once out of Yeovil, we pass under the Waterloo to Exeter Main Line and cross into Dorset. Although, north of Yeovil, the line was very briefly already in Dorset. So now we'll get to find out if anybody is doing any requesting for the 3 request stops. Thornford? Apparently not, and we creep on through. But at Yetminster, we come to a halt. Chetnole, however, has proved to be less popular with travellers this afternoon, and so we breeze through without stopping.
We are now approaching Maiden Newton.
The whole route between Yeovil and Dorchester is single track, Maiden Newton being the only place with a passing loop. Hence it looks like our driver is getting permission to leave the first section and enter the second one for Dorchester.
This is Weymouth.
We leave a defunct signal box behind, and just a bit further along we pass the disused Bradford, Peveril and Stratton station. Then it's not long before we reach the Great Western Station at Dorchester West. I expect it is not quite as grand as Dorchester South, what with that station having electric trains to London. Mind you, it is dead handy for the range. As the 2 lines merge for the run into Weymouth, just a note on ticket prices. If you book in advance, you can get some very good deals on this line, although the walk-up fare is maybe not quite as attractive. Still, I found it a lovely way to spend an afternoon enjoying the countryside and towns that are strung out through the heart of Wessex, and I hope you enjoyed coming along too. And here we are into Weymouth, maybe just a couple of minutes late, but I don't think anybody is complaining. And here we are at Weymouth. That was the Heart of Wessex line. Actually, on the day like today, it was a lovely little run through the English countryside. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. You know, sometimes you look out of the window and you think, well, this isn't Switzerland or Austria. But in fact, you know, the rolling countryside of England is beautiful and green in June. It hasn't had a chance to burn off and go brown during the summer. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. And like I said, I hope you did too. Now I'm going to go for a little bit of a walk around Weymouth. And I hope you join me for that, because that might be a Monday bonus. But in the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed this little ride. Let's go out and have a little look at Weymouth Station. And with that, I'll say goodbye and thank you very much for watching. And as Johnny says, the story will continue with a little bonus as we trace the route of the old line that used to run from here down to Weymouth Quay.